Hi, JK here. I'll try to keep this intro short. So, for more than the past year, I've received comments over time about how soft spoken my voice is. And about a year ago, I released a short, funny video showcasing that a little bit. But this time, it's taking a more serious approach. You see, lately, I've been dabbling with a different project, doing soft spoken storytelling. And this project is something you've never seen on this channel before. I honestly don't fully know what to think about it. But if you're in the mood for a bit of soft spoken storytelling, with a bit of visual in the background, a bit of ambiance, then perhaps this is something you might like. And actually, another thing about this project is what I ended up recording was way too long to be in one video, so it's actually going to be split in two parts. So there's going to be another video like this coming soon. But anyway, what you're about to see is something to definitely sit back and relax to. If you like my content and what you're about to see, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, and stay tuned for some final thoughts at the end of the video. Now, I present to you A Fox's New Journey, Part 1, Discovery.
Night settles over the forest like a heavy wool blanket, thick and damp and impossibly dark. I crouch low beneath a tangled mass of brush, drawing my knees against my chest and wrapping my arms around them. Wet leaves press against my shoulders. Thin branches drag gently through the fur of my ears whenever the wind stirs them. The little shelter is cramped and uncomfortable, but it hides me, and right now that matters more than comfort. Rain falls softly overhead. The sound is everywhere. Tiny droplets patter against the leaves. Water gathers along branches before spilling down in sudden little streams. Every so often, a heavier drop slips through the canopy and lands on my head or shoulder, cold enough to make me flinch. My breathing fogs faintly in the chill air. I pull my cloak tighter and around myself. It doesn't help much. The fabric is soaked through. When I shift my weight, I can feel the damp material dragging against my fur. My sleeves cling to my arms. My tail is wet from tip to base, lying heavily across the muddy ground beside me. Another shiver passes through my body. It starts somewhere deep in my chest before rippling outward, making my shoulders tremble and my teeth briefly click together. I hold still afterward, listening. The forest answers with nothing except rain. For a few moments, I allow myself to believe that I am alone. The thought is comforting and terrifying. A faint breeze slips through the trees. It carries the scent of wet bark, moss, damp earth, and distant river water. The smells are rich and alive, almost overwhelming after everything that had happened during the day. Oh, everything that happened. I close my eyes. Immediately, I regret it. The memories are waiting. They haven't left me for a single moment. Orange light, smoke, screams. I can still see it, even now. The village square glowing beneath a sky that should have been blue. Flames climbing rooftops, burning thatch, collapsing inward. The sharp crack of a timber splitting apart. The air had been filled with sparks, thousands of them. Little glowing embers drifting through the streets like angry fireflies. I remember running. I remember the pounding of my feet against packed dirt, the ache in my lungs, the panic, the confusion. One moment, everything had been normal. The next moment, everything was ending. Bandits. Dozens of them. Maybe more. I never counted. I only remember flashes. Steel, torches, animals running, animals falling. The smell of smoke so thick it felt like I was drowning in it. A particularly strong gust rattles the branches above me. The sound pulls me back into the present. My eyes open. Darkness greets me. For a moment, I simply stare into it. The forest at night is different from the forest during the day. During daylight, every tree has a shape. Every path has a direction. Every sound has a source. Now, everything blends together. The woods feel endless. The shadows between the trunks seem deeper than they should be. The darkness beyond my hiding place feels less like empty space and more like something waiting. watching. I swallow. My throat feels dry despite the rain. Another shiver rolls through me. The cold is becoming harder to ignore. My paws ache, my ears ache. Even the tip of my muzzle feels numb. I rub my paws together slowly. The motion creates a faint whisper of wet fur against wet fur. Not much warmth comes from it. Still, the small movement is comforting. It reminds me that I am here, alive. The realization feels strange. Alive. The word has weight now. This morning it meant nothing. This morning I had a home, a bed, neighbors, familiar faces, a future I never bothered to think about because it always seemed guaranteed. Now all of it is gone. The village is gone. Even if the fires had burned themselves out by now, there was nothing waiting for me there except ashes and memories. A knot forms in my chest. The rain continues to fall, steady, patient, unchanging. I lower my head against my knees. The position lets me tuck my snoot into the fur of my chest. Stealing what little warmth remains there. For a while I simply listen. Rain on leaves, wind through branches, the distant rush of a river somewhere beyond the trees, the occasional creak of wood shifting in the darkness. The sounds begin to blur together. Not enough for sleep. Sleep feels impossible, but enough that my racing thoughts finally start to slow. The forest breathes around me, a living thing, ancient, vast, indifferent. I am only a small creature hiding beneath a bush while the world continues turning. The thought should make me feel insignificant. Instead, it makes me feel oddly calm. The village is gone. I cannot change that. The day is over. I survived it. That alone feels miraculous. Another drop of water slips through the leaves and lands squarely between my ears. I twitch. For the first time all night, a faint smile touches my muzzle. Only for a second. Only because the surprise is so absurd. Then the smile fades. A new sound reaches me. Very faint. Very distant. I freeze. Every muscle in my body tightens. The rain suddenly seems quieter. The forest seems to hold its breath. I lift my head slowly, listening. There it is again. A sound somewhere deeper in the woods. Not wind, not water. Something moving. The noise is brief. A soft rustle. Then silence. I stare into the darkness between the trees. The darkness stares back. Cold rain drips from the leaves overhead. My heart beats a little faster. And somewhere beyond the edge of sight, hidden among the forest shadows, something else is awake tonight. The sound comes again. Closer. This time there's no mistaking it. A footstep. Soft, careful, deliberate. My breath catches in my throat. Every muscle in my body locks. The rain continues falling around me, but now I hear something beneath it. Something threading its way through the endless whisper of water and leaves. Another footstep, then another. My ears angle forward automatically, listening. The sound is subtle enough that I might have missed it under normal circumstances. A gentle compression of wet earth, a faint rustle as grass bends beneath weight, the occasional brush of fur against dripping foliage. Whoever or whatever is moving through the forest is trying not to be heard. That realization sends a chill through me that has nothing to do with the cold. Bandits. The thought arrives immediately. Bandits searching the woods. Bandits hunting survivors. Finishing what they started. My heart begins beating harder. I can feel it against my ribs. Thump, 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 thump. The rhythm seems impossibly loud. I worry the creature will hear it. I pull myself farther into the brush. The leaves scrape softly against my cloak. I freeze again. Even that tiny sound feels dangerous. The footsteps continue. Closer. The darkness beyond my hiding place suddenly feels much smaller. A few moments ago, the forest seemed endless. Now it feels crowded. Occupied. Every tree trunk becomes a possible hiding place. Every shadow becomes a threat. The rain drips steadily from my ears. I barely notice. My entire attention is fixed on those approaching sounds. The figure isn't rushing. It isn't stumbling. It isn't crashing through the undergrowth. No, it moves with confidence, with purpose, as though it belongs here, as though the forest itself has made room for it. Another footstep. Closer. I swallow carefully. My mouth feels dry. The scent reaches me before the figure does. The faint smell carried by the damp breeze. Wet fur, earth, forest. Not smoke, not burning wood, not the sharp metallic scent of weapons. The realization gives me the smallest measure of relief. Only the smallest. For all I know, a bandit could still be wearing wet fur and carrying steel. The footsteps stop. My entire body tightens. Silence. Nothing but rain. I stare into the darkness, waiting. Seconds pass. Then movement. A shape emerges between the trees. At first, it is only a darker shadow among shadows. Tall, broad, silent. Rain slides down my muzzle as I watch. The figure steps forward. Moonlight breaks briefly through a gap in the clouds overhead. Only for a moment. Only enough. My stomach twists. A wolf. A male wolf. Even from this distance, he looks larger than me. Not enormously so, but enough. Enough that I immediately notice it. He stands quite taller than I do. His frame is powerful beneath the soaked fur clinging to his body. Wide shoulders, strong arms, a thick chest. The sort of build earned through years of physical labor rather than vanity. The rain darkens everything around him, yet somehow his fur appears darker still. Charcoal black, not gray, not brown, black. The color reminds me of storm clouds gathering over distant hills, of wet stone beneath moonlight, of shadows given form. Water beads along the thick fur of his arms and shoulders. Tiny droplets catch what little light exists before disappearing again. His tail hangs low behind him, heavy with rain. His ears remain upright, alert, listening, watching. For several seconds I forget to breathe. The wolf takes another slow step, then another. The forest seems strangely quiet around him. Even the rain feels muted. My gaze rises toward his face and immediately finds his eyes. Crimson, deep crimson. The color is startling against the darkness of his fur. They do not truly glow. Not really. Yet, in the darkness, they seem to gather every scrap of available light and hold it. Two crimson embers suspended within the blackness, watching the forest, searching. My pulse jumps. I press myself farther against the muddy ground. The leaves above my hiding place tremble slightly as I shift. I stop instantly. My breathing becomes painfully shallow. The wolf stands no more than a short distance away now. Far too close. Close enough that I can make out individual strands of wet fur along his neck. Close enough that I can hear the faint sound of rain striking his fur. Close enough that I can see his chest slowly rise and fall. He stops, completely. The stillness is almost unsettling. One moment he is moving, the next he becomes motionless, like a statue carved from black stone. The rain trickles from his ears, slides along his muzzle, falls silently to the earth below. I don't move. I don't blink. I barely breathe. The wolf's head turns slightly, not toward me, but close enough. My heart pounds harder. Could he hear it? Could he smell me? The thought makes my stomach tighten. Foxes are not particularly difficult to smell, especially soaked foxes, especially frightened soaked foxes hiding beneath wet brush. I suddenly become painfully aware of everything. The scent of my damp cloak, the muddy earth beneath my paws, the trembling in my legs, the tiny wisps of breath escaping my muzzle. The wolf remains still, listening. His crimson eyes sweep slowly across the forest, patient, careful, as though searching for something or someone. The seconds stretch endlessly. The sense becomes almost unbearable. And only a short distance away, standing among the shadows of the forest, a black-furred wolf waits beneath the rain, waiting so quietly that he almost seems like part of the night itself. And then the wolf's head turns directly toward me. My stomach drops. For a brief, impossible moment, I convince myself that perhaps he is looking at something else. A tree behind me, a patch of brush nearby, some movement deeper in the darkness. Then his eyes meet mine. There is no uncertainty, no doubt, no possibility of a mistake. He sees me. The realization crashes through me like icy river water. Every ounce of hope I've been clinging to vanishes instantly. I have been found. My claws dig into the damp earth beneath me. I don't even realize I'm doing it. The mud is cold between my beans. Wet leaves press against my legs. Rain slides down my ears. None of it feels real anymore. All of my attention is trapped within those crimson eyes, watching me, finding me, knowing exactly where I am. My pulse becomes frantic. Thump, 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 thump. The rhythm pounds against my ribs so hard that it almost hurts. Run! The thought flashes through my mind. Run now. Run before he reaches you. Run before it's too late. But my body refuses. I am exhausted, cold, hungry, terrified. And beneath all that is something worse. The certainty that I would never outrun him. Not like this. Not tonight. Not in this forest. The wolf begins walking toward me. One slow step, then another, then another. The movement is unhurried, controlled. His paws sink softly into the wet forest floor. Rainwater splashes around his ankles. His broad frame moves between the trees with surprising grace. Every instinct inside me screams that a predator is approaching. The ancient fear is impossible to ignore. The size, the strength, the confidence, the certainty. Everything about him feels powerful. I shrink farther into the brush despite knowing there is nowhere left to hide. The leaves tremble around me. My breathing grows shallow. A cold knot in my chest tightens. He keeps coming. Closer. Closer. The details become clearer. Droplets cling to the thick charcoal fur around his neck. Rain traces silent paths down his arms. His chest rises and falls steadily. Not rushed, not strained. Calm. Completely calm. While my own breathing threatens to spiral into panic. I watch him approach as though trapped inside a dream. Unable to move. Unable to wake. Unable to change what is happening. Just steps away from my hiding place. He stops. The distance between us now is almost nothing. I can hear the rain striking his fur. I can hear him breathing. I can smell the scent of wet forest lingering in his coat. Earth, rain, wood, river water. The scent is strangely clean, strangely comforting. A tiny detail that somehow manages to break through my fear. The wolf looks down at me. Not aggressively, not hungrily, not with the cruel satisfaction I remember seeing in the faces of the bandits. Simply looking, studying, trying to understand what he has found. I remain frozen. My tail curls tighter against my legs. Another shiver travels through my body. A particularly strong one. My teeth click together. The wolf notices. His gaze flickers briefly, noticing my soaked cloak, my trembling shoulders, my muddy paws, the miserable state I've been reduced to. For a moment, neither of us moves. The forest breathes around us. Rain drips from the canopy overhead. The distant river murmurs through the darkness. The wind whispers through wet leaves. Then the wolf turns its head. Its crimson eyes shift toward the horizon, toward the village. Though I cannot see it from here, I know exactly where he is looking. The direction of the smoke, the direction of the fire, the direction where everything ended. A strange expression crosses his face, something thoughtful, something knowing, as though he already understands, as though he doesn't need an explanation, as though he saw the smoke too. The wolf remains still for several long seconds, listening to the rain, watching the darkness. Then he looks back at me. Our eyes meet again. The fear inside me tightens. I wait for judgment, for rejection, for danger, for whatever comes next. Instead, something unexpected happens. The wolf's expression softens, only slightly. The change is subtle enough that I almost miss it. Attention leaves his features. The sharpness around his eyes eases. The effect is small, yet somehow it changes everything. The night suddenly feels a little less threatening, a little less cold. The wolf slowly lowers one paw, not toward a weapon, not toward me, toward the space between us. Open, empty, offered. The gesture is deliberate, careful. His movements are slow enough that I can follow every detail, slow enough that I never feel threatened. The paw offered remains there, patient, waiting. The wolf's gaze stays fixed on mine, but his meaning is unmistakable. Do not be afraid. No pressure, no command, only reassurance, only an invitation. His eyes briefly flick toward the deeper forest, then back to me. The offered paw remains exactly where it is. Come with me. The meaning is just as clear. The gesture somehow says everything words cannot. You do not belong here. You are freezing. You are alone. You do not have to remain that way. For several seconds, I simply stare, unable to process what is happening. A few moments ago, I was convinced I had been discovered by a threat, convinced that my fate had finally caught up with me. Yet now, sitting beneath dripping leaves and trembling from cold, I find myself looking at an offered paw instead. A path forward, a choice. The rain continues to whisper through the forest. Water slides from the end of my snoot. My ears twitch nervously, and there, only a few steps away beneath the darkness of the trees, a black-furred wolf waits with remarkable patience, not demanding, not rushing, simply standing beneath the rain with his paw extended toward me, waiting to see whether I will trust him.
Wow, that poor fox. I don't envy its position. Perhaps quite the chilling beginning to the story, being out there alone in the woods, with absolutely nothing left to go back to, and then out of nowhere, this menacing looking creature, with motives which we don't fully understand yet, appears out of nowhere, and he finds the fox. The fox doesn't know what to do. Is he going to take the wolf's paw? I mean, what do you think? He might not. But when you really think about it, when you put yourself in the fox's position, he has nothing left. When he got nothing to lose, right? So why not take a chance? He could just stay there, alone in the woods. But then what? What's he gonna do? Leave your thoughts down below. But anyway, stay tuned for part 2, and we'll see what happens next with the fox and that wolf. Again, this is something very different from what I've done on this channel before, but I hope you liked it. And I'll see you again for part 2. I hope you have yourself a wonderful day. Cheers.